Hey. Alright. Poetry reading time. I'm gonna start with this. This is my blue book. This is the first book I ever wrote poetry in, back in Modesto, California. This is from about 2 years ago. So, let's read. Honesty is the basis of a good society. My mental illness was exactly that, an illness. I've seen 1984 around me my entire life. I've understood and been traumatized by the realization. I didn't read the book until I was 21. I thought Animal Farm was just about communism. I've been depressed as long as I can remember, at least as far back as 6th grade. That's the year my grades started going down. From A's to C's, then quickly to D's and F's. I never studied a single day in high school. My handwriting's bad, so I gotta read my own writing here. Makes it a little harder. I missed over 260 days because I milked every day of sick time possible. I learned that if I treated my body badly and got sick, I would be able to stay home all day. I only ever learned what I cared about, and lazily studied that. I was successfully traumatized enough to repress my feelings about the world and focus on my own happiness. I never found it. My mom heavily influenced my political beliefs since a young age. She was loud and very emotional, almost irrational at times, but she taught me the value of love, acceptance, empathy, respect, unconditionality, and most importantly, honesty. I want to elaborate on what each of these mean. Love, the greatest primal instinct, the ultimate connection to others, the source of the output of goodness from the hearts of people. Acceptance, the wanting of good for others, whether or not they are good themselves. Empathy, the ability to feel and understand what people other than yourself feel. This some people feel naturally, but most others do not. Almost anyone can learn to be empathetic, but it's hard and takes a lot of energy. You must try your best. The only people who will never feel empathy are psychopaths. They make up about 5% of the population. So 5 in 100 people, no matter how hard they try, will never empathize with you. And these are the people you need to be most wary of in life. Respect. All people have valid opinions and ideas. This is unconditional. From the lowliest piece of shit on the planet to the loveliest and most pure, we must listen to everybody. This is the only way to give everyone a value and everyone a voice. If we believe in the good of people generally speaking, we must allow every single one of us in the conversation to prove it. Unconditionality. This is the hardest one. It encompasses my entire philosophy. Unconditionality, as you can see, unconditionality encompasses, like an umbrella, it is the parent company of love, acceptance, empathy, respect, and honesty. They must all be unconditional values. Unconditionality means you respect every one of these principles with every human being. Unconditionally, meaning no matter what. Once you've 1, given love to the world, 2, accepted the other person as a guest in your life, and 3, respected them as a human being, and listened, that's that word, and listened, and then 4, given them the opportunity to be honest without consequence. And that is so important. Honesty must always come with forgiveness for what's being said. If you're not forgiving the honesty, then you're not incentivizing it, and you are instead incentivizing a lie. And to incentivize liars incentivizes secrets, and to incentivize secrets incentivizes evil. Secrets are the basis of all evil in the world today. Only after you've done these 4 things do you have the right to judge another person. If a person is a liar, you can then judge them more harshly. Honesty is more important than anything else in the universe to me. I feel so strongly about unconditional honesty that I supply it to all people. I believe in the second chance principle. If someone, for example, steals your food, you provide them with a job. That provides food and housing. If they lose their job, you provide them mental health services. If they don't improve and end up stealing or committing some other crime of a violent nature, you remove them and put them in a reformatory institution. This is only a system for dealing with crime. It can be an applicable model for anything. This is about to get heavy, so I'm going to use something I call contramarks. The purpose of contramark is to expand on the concept of the quotation mark. The contramark works like this. You place one at the beginning and one at the end of a controversial statement to signify the bounds for an appropriate quotation of your words. For example, let's say a woman is quoted as saying, "I hate the military and this lousy country." You may have some strong negative feelings about this woman after reading that. You may lose respect for her and her words, and hate her as a human being. Let's read her full statement. "My son joined the military because we couldn't afford school. He left for the war at 18, came back in a box before we ever had a beer, or a real life of any kind. I hate the military in this lousy country for what it stole from my boy, his life." This is much different now. Her full statement may have helped you to empathize and accept her even after saying something that makes people upset. The contramark is designed to augment this type of misquotation by simply replacing the quotation mark with a contramark. Once I've put a statement between two contramarks, I've stated to the world that any use of a piece of this statement that doesn't provide the context is slanderous and an intentional attempt to defame my position. Simply replace the quotation marks with a little symbol that I've created. "My son joined the military because we couldn't afford school. He left at 18 and came back in a box before he ever had a beer. I hate the military in this lousy country for what it stole from my son." Now, if somebody tries to use the words without the full context, you can easily point to a better spot to quote. This tool can also be used retroactively, meaning even if the author didn't use contramarks to start, they can be added after the slander has been done. This is not something that should be enforced by law, just as a tool to improve discourse. So, anyways, from this point on, I am using a contramark, and I will inform you as to when I am not using a contramark anymore. From this point, I expect the full quotation to be used. I expect every view from this point on until my next contramark to be fully expressed in any amount of discourse. Otherwise, I will take that as a slanderous misrepresentation of my position. Okay? So anyways, I was talking about emphasizing, empathizing, respecting, loving, and accepting all people, even criminals. The most lowly, piece of shit, rotten scum on the earth are child predators. I'm going that far. How do you love, empathize, respect, and accept something so evil and disgusting as that? First offense, we dedicate resources to a place where children aren't allowed to be. It has a job market, a good job, a house, and food to eat. There will be no second offense. Our hatred for them binds us to the obvious solution. If they do somehow manage to be enough of a human pile of shit to do it again, we kill them. By the way, it's kind of a dick move to use contramarks for a sentence that long. That's right. It's if your contra marks cover too much ground, they will be null and void. Use them in a way that can be quoted conveniently if you're an asshole. And I did already finish my contramark quotation. The last word where I used contramark was kill him. And that is the end of my contramark statement. Criminal justice is the most controversial place to apply my philosophy, which is why I start there. It should also be applied to each of us as individuals. Honesty requires strength and courage, for the liar and the lied to. In order to create a more honest society, we must be willing to accept it unconditionally. That means without punishment. This does not mean you cannot set a boundary as an individual. For example, a cheater may lose his wife, and we can't expect her to stay, as that exceeds the boundary of trust they'd already established at marriage. By lying, he's made her... Wait. By lying, he's made her lie of honesty without consequence, null and void. This is the nature of a bond this intimate. The wife may be able to stay, but we as a society should forgive and respect the man despite his mistake. We should continue to view them as equals. By treating him as a human being, we as a society encourage honesty in our relationships, and ultimately decrease the likelihood of people getting hurt. Nothing should be more celebrated in society than telling a difficult truth. This is something I learned from the other great mentor in my life, my beautiful soulmate Melinda. She showed me the importance of strength, self-confidence, personal responsibility, and conquering fear. She also taught me how to truly slow down, enjoy myself, love and indulge in life. I love her every minute of every day, even today. It was the spark of love, loyalty, happiness, and trueness I received from her that reignited my hope in the world. It was this spark of hope which led me down a path of experimentation and self-discovery. Through hours of deep reflections on mushroom trips, the sting of pain when I'd see her hurting. Every dip has been met with a steeper incline, like a roller coaster which stretches into the sky. I love her with every bone in my body, but I'd like to return to the lessons she taught me. Personal responsibility. You are responsible for your own happiness. Nobody owes it to you. You have a right to a place to sleep, food to eat, warm clothes, and a good job. That's it. In an emergency, you must be able to rely on others, but your own happiness and prosperity are yours to earn. Self-confidence. You are you. Get over it. You're great. We all are. We are the only animal that's ever been successful enough to choose how we live. Let's choose wisely and give our beautiful life the respect it deserves. Strength. Evil is strong on its own. Evil is inherently strong, born strong. Good must be cultivated. Honesty requires strength. Forgiveness requires strength. It guides me more than anything else. So strength is truly the umbrella over unconditionality, which houses all of the other necessities in life. In order to do any of this, you must be a strong, independent human being. Lies are weak and cowardly. A good man can face the world head-on with strength in his heart. And finally, conquering fear. Fear is evil's greatest tool. Fear of prison keeps you in line. Fear of black people forces them into ghettos. Fear supplies our military with endless war. Fear kept me from talking until now. Fear of judgment, fear of embarrassment. Fear of the responsibility that my ideas are too weak. Fear of my lack of strength. We must expel fear from the world. If we are loving, accepting, honest, respectful, strong, confident, and responsible unconditionally, then we have no need for fear. Reformation starts with honesty and self-reflection. This applies to both to an individual and a society. You cannot fix the issues in the system with a quick pull of the lever. You must go to the heart of the issue, dissect it, consider every angle, and finally choose a best course of action. The fact of the matter is, I can spend all of the time I want talking about the importance of my ideology in politics, and later in this book I will. But I can't now. I can't because nobody's ideology matters yet. Our opinions and ideas have absolutely no impact on the political system, because it is not about representing us. It's only about representing corporate interests. Before a word anybody says matters, the one and only issue is money in politics. The one and only issue is having a true democracy in America. When you speak politically, it should matter no less than the opinion of any other human being. One of the most heartbreaking moments of my life was in my senior year of high school. I took a course on civics and politics that would be many students' first and final introduction to the topic publicly. I preached the entire semester, arguing with the teacher and debating every topic passionately, to the point I felt like an annoyance. At the very end of the 4-month course, our final project was to give America a rating in democracy based on a variety of factors. We were also given another democratic country and a non-democratic country to weigh our options against. My two countries were Vietnam and Kenya. Vietnam, a brutal one-party regime, clearly got an F. I didn't have time in class to explain our role in it ending up that way, but that's irrelevant to this discussion. Kenya, if you didn't know, has over 160 registered political parties. Although only a few hold real influence, they are founded on the coalition of smaller parties. I gave Kenya an A+. There are many reasons I don't consider America a democracy, but let's get into the specifics of what makes a good democracy first. 1. All people must be represented. 2. You must have a good educational system. 3. The opportunity for any individual to run for office regardless of political affiliation. 4. The opportunity for open and honest discussion of issues. 5. An honest news media. 6. You must uphold the tenets of the Constitution. 7. You must consider the importance of minority rights. 8. There can be no government secrets outside of direct endangerment of American lives. Direct endangerment meaning imminent physical harm. Embarrassment and crimes are not government secrets that must be hidden to protect our image. They are failings of our system which must be reformed and improved on. Finally, and most importantly, you cannot allow politicians to be indebted to anybody but their constituents. They should only be there because our votes put them there. Money in politics breaks this model, as they are more indebted to their funders and contributors than to their constituents. Did you know 96% of congressmen who won their race had more money than their opponent? The game in Washington is clear. If you want to win, have more money. You want more money? Represent corporate interests first. Our political system is rotten from the bottom up with corporate interest. This is a good place to discuss another one of my mentors who helped me develop my code. Kyle Kulinski. In my eyes, is one of the great counterculture figures of our time. His pure objectivism and nonpartisanship, alongside his war on polite society, makes him the most honest news figure personality on the market. It was Kyle, alongside other free thinkers like Jimmy Dore, who showed me it's acceptable not only to have impolite opinions, but revealed the wall of politeness as a tool of deceit to frame our conversations. Wait, but isn't it good to be polite? Yes, in your personal life you should treat people politely. It's a great tool for getting along. Personal lives and public lives must be treated as separate beings. In public life, we must always push back on politeness to make room for honesty. We must also be vigilant for those that weaponize politeness against us. This is felt especially strongly in American news media. CNN, MSNBC, Fox, the New York Times, WAPO, just about every for-profit news outlet uses our polite instinct to nullify those who disagree with them. This is also the foundation of cancel culture, which I don't believe is upheld by the majority of people. My understanding of cancel culture is as follows. 1. Any strong opinion will be offensive to some group of people. This is due to the fluid nature of what makes something offensive. 2. A small offended group, who is generally celebrated for their strength in calling out the offender, calls for the person's opinion to be invalidated by the public and for their platform to communicate from be taken away. 3. Corporations will not cancel any opinion they themselves agree with. For example, if a small group of communists is offended at a Fox News anchor for belittling the homeless, this will never result in a deplatformation of the host, whereas a news anchor calling out Kamala Harris in the wrong way may be misconstrued as offensive and deplatformed for attacking a black female politician. 4. By cancel culture, only affecting those who the establishment doesn't care to protect, it acts as a natural filter in favor of establishment opinions. To be offended by something is to be damaged. the offended feels pain derived from the ideas of or opinions of another, and consequently treats that opinion or ideas as an attack, which must be prevented. To treat an opinion or idea as an attack is weak. It takes strength to allow a disgusting opinion to be heard, but it is necessary. If we allow ourselves to wallow in offense and ban the most offensive of us, it will only act as a tool to further limit public discourse and serve those who have the resources to provide a platform to be taken away, namely the ultra-rich and corporations. The same people who own our politicians, who have oligarchical control of our economy, who have wiretapped phones in all of our pockets, who have databases of our faces and facial recognition technology to create a profile of your public life. They live above the law, walking free after fraudulently crashing our economy. These are discussion topics for The Black Book, which is another poetry book I wrote in Modesto, and I will be reading after this one. This is the good book. The Black Book is the bad book. These are discussion topics for the Black Book, but understand how tightly gripped the elites have our economy and democracy held. I named 9 qualities. Let's explore each individually. 1. Representation for all. We all get a vote. This is how they create the illusion of representation. Representation is measurable by policy versus polls. This was actually calculated in a Cambridge study a few years back. See, in a good democracy, the likelihood of a policy coming into existence should closely resemble the amount of support it has publicly. A perfect democracy would look like the graph below. So you can see, this is the graph I wrote. You've got a y-axis and an x-axis. On the x-axis, you have public support. So public support from 0% to 100%. And then on the y-axis, you have likelihood of a policy passing. In a perfect democracy, 0% support would mean a 0% chance, and the